going to turn this over first to John Gutzmann, who is probably someone who met Richard soon after he came to Minnesota. And I'll turn it right over to you, John, to pick up the story from there.
Thank you very much, Fred. I am truly honored to be part of this incredible celebration. Happy birthday, Richard. Happy 80th. For the past 36 years, I was the executive director of the St. Paul Public Housing Agency, and I'm going to take you back 40 years ago when Richard was the president of the Midwest China Center. And in 1984, I had the pleasure of meeting Richard. He was 39, and he appointed me to the board of the Midwest China Center. The Midwest China Center was established in 1975. Nixon opened China in 72. This was the first regional organization that tried to connect people and business and culture and religion with China. There was a bridge between the emerging Chinese interest in America and vice versa. And one of Richard's main goals was to get the early delegations of Chinese visitors to, yes, they were going to San Francisco and New York, but he said, hey, there's something in the middle. And Richard was so convincing to get delegations after delegations to come to Minnesota and stay with us in our homes and rough it. In 1985, we were fortunate to be invited to go to China, partially in thanks for all of the Chinese dignitaries Richard had put up in St. Paul. And we were invited to be guests of the Chinese government. And I was fortunate to get to go to that trip. We were invited by 3 provincial governors of Shaanxi, Hunan, and Guangzhou provinces. And at that time, 1985, there were very few Americans in China and very few formal delegations. Not only were we the guests of the Chinese government for 2 weeks, meaning they paid, but Richard, being the persuasive guy he is, got Northwest Airlines to pay for our flight. And I happen to have the brochure from 1985 trip. And at the end of my presentation, I've made several copies. Don't come until the presentation's over, but I'd love to share them with you. 2 quick things about that trip. When we went to Changsha, Hunan, Richard had the idea of creating the sister city relationship with St. Paul. It was Richard's idea. We were on the walk. He saw that river, said, we have a river like that back in St. Paul. Being the diligent back person man, Richard got all the paperwork signed by then St. Paul George Latimer and did all the other corresponding with China, and that sister city relationship is here today. The second thing I remember, I have a lot of stories from that trip, Richard, but you know I can't tell them all. The second thing I remember about that trip is Richard's scholarly self. We were at Hunan University, and Richard gave a lecture to perhaps 500 people. And he spoke about his research, and many of you know his research and his books, the Taiping Rebellion. And Richard spoke in Mandarin to 500 people about his academic work. I was incredibly impressed. I want to end by saying Richard is truly a loving husband and father and a gentleman, and we know he's a scholar, but he's a visionary. And he saw back then the importance of the relationship with China. And he's my friend and lifetime mentor. Thank you, Richard. Happy birthday.
Thanks so much, John.